PMMs are business strategists. So I think by nature, the nature of the role is you can come from drastically different backgrounds and you can still be a very great PMM. So I think business acumen is definitely out there. Or are you trying to sound clever
Mm,
or to sound clear?
yeah.
And I think just saying you need to be clear is a bit of a junk food advice
Mm,
because there's a different layer of clarity. And if you're trying to be clever, cleverness needs to be into a way where it's relevant to your target audience. Don't try necessarily to sound cool. You need to be obsessed with the customer and with the data. If you just say, oh, I'm going to tell a good narrative, I'm going to tell a good story. Okay, good. Yeah. Stories are not bringing revenue, right?
Hey, welcome to the Message Market Fit podcast. I'm your host, Chris Silvestri, and if you're new here, this is a show where I chat with B2B SaaS folks in marketing, product, growth, and founders about how they join the conversation already happening in their customers' minds. We dive deep into their thinking, their systems, and their playbooks to see how they empathize with their audience and speak to them in a way that resonates, so they're compelled to take action. Join us and learn how you too can shape your messaging strategy and write copy that truly resonates and differentiates you. I'm super excited about my guest today, Gab Bujold. Gab is a B2B messaging strategist and co-host of the We're Not Marketers podcast. In this episode, we dive into Gab's journey into product marketing, explore why he believes product marketers are not marketers, and talk about the challenges of positioning and messaging for startups specifically. We also dive into aligning sales and marketing teams and market segmentation. Let's dive right in. Hey Gab, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I am great, Chris. Thank you for having me. It's amazing to be here.
Nice, awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation because we are both kind of nerds about messaging, copy on startups as well. So there's lots that I want to talk about. Why don't we start with some of your background? I'm curious, how did you get into product marketing and all that stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that my background is pretty normal. I started in marketing, creative background, always trying to find new ideas on how to just push specific or strategic motion. And I was mainly working for startups. So I always pretty much worked for startups. I did a pivot in enterprise, but that's one of the story. And then I realized that the foundation of everything I was doing to have the most impact was product marketing. So I went into product marketing and I was in a position at some point where I was in a business development agency. I was a product marketing lead. So my role was enabling the sales team, making sure that they are able to tackle new market with outbound and really delivering results. And in front of me was 50% of the clients I was working with were gathering that research. They were understanding their ICP, they were doing everything else, and the messaging was very crisp and relevant based on the market context. And 50% were not. And it was like day and night, really drastically different results. So today what I do is I really help B2B founders and product marketing managers uh, position themselves and craft a strategic messaging results. That's it. But on the side, I'm also one of the co-hosts of the We're Not Marketers podcast, which is a fun fact, product marketing podcast for PMMs. And we strongly start with a point of view that PMMs are not marketers.
All right. So yeah, that was my exact next question. And I love your value proposition is on your website. If you're a product marketer, you're not a marketer. Shed your corporate shell and become a PMM your CEO can't ignore. What do you mean by that? Why you are saying that product marketers are not marketers?
Yeah. So it all started with just testing out the water a little bit. So I did a post and it became very quickly a dumpster fire. Oh, you don't understand marketing. You're not a real marketer. And I was just like shell shock a little bit, like, why? Okay. This is the true nature of social media. People hate each other. Then I realized, hey, if people are reacting that way, that means I'm doing something right. Your point of view should not make everyone agree, but we also got lots of PMMs saying, yeah, product marketers are not marketers. And the reason being that today in B2B SaaS, mainly in startups, no one understands what a product marketer does. And what happened is PMMs end up writing copy, doing sales deck, and being the little assistant of the sales team. And it's fine. Like as long as you do meaningful work and if you like it, that's fine. The issue is because you're doing that, you get in between a rock and a hard place when you're trying to deliver results by working on longer initiatives. Positioning, messaging, go to market, all of that takes months, if not years to make it right. But you cannot work on long-term initiatives. All you do is just very short-term sprints. People don't understand what you do. So we realized that because people were reacting to that point of view, that means that they feel like us, like misfits. So we started a podcast really as a way for us to just vent and say that we were not happy with the way we were perceived. And we decided to create a podcast for people that were feeling like misfits to really showcase that PMMs are not marketers. We're something else. And because we're not putting ourselves in that category, we're able to do our best work.
Nice. Super interesting. So why would you say product marketers struggle to get buy-in and also to get understood by executive C-suites?
That's a good question. I would say my take is people understand what marketing is up to a level. You ask someone what a marketer would do, some people will say, oh, exactly the right time to post on social media. And we know that it's a lot more than that. But marketers, a lot of them don't understand what PMMs are. And you just create an additional layer of complication. If I have a difficult understanding of what marketing is, for sure I won't understand what a PMM does. And it happened to me often. I was an enterprise, I was working with 9 PMMs in a cloud service provider business. And it was like, oh, but you guys are just helping us do our job, but we don't exactly know what you're doing in a day. You're always between meetings, always trying to launch a brief and stuff like that. So I think a misconception is they have not necessarily any incentive to understand what a PMM do. And our goal is to really push that forward by showing them what great PMMs are doing, what great product marketing experts are tackling that within making sure you don't do messaging or positioning by committee and always trying to find a result that pleases everyone because it's dull and will just sound like everything generic and B2B. But it's also the fact that you're always trying to justify your work. When there's layoff and marketing is on the line, PMMs are going to get fired because it's hard to assign them to KPIs or to success metrics because they're always context switching, trying to work on strategic stuff, trying to work on alignment. I think this is part of the reason why this misconception is happening. And hopefully with the pod, we're able to shine more light on the role and the impact it can.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned a great product marketer. So from my experience, my direct contacts with clients are either CMOs, VP of marketing, heads of growth, or product marketers, right? And I see that product marketers are probably the ones that have a clearer and broader picture as well between sales, marketing, product. So it's probably some of the prospects, the clients that I probably like to work more than the other ones as well, just because they have this comprehensive picture. So what would you say makes a great product marketer?
That's a really great question, Chris. Yilan Pei on our podcast said something that strongly relates to us. And I think PMMs are business strategists. So I think by nature, the nature of the role is you can come from drastically different backgrounds and you can still be a very great PMM. So I think business acumen is definitely out there. You need to have an understanding of how business works, not just from a marketing standpoint. We know that great marketers understand that as well, but it's even more crucial as PMM because you have that alignment, you have that strategic stuff. You need to understand what's happening out there in the organization, but especially externally. So business acumen, and then I would say that you need to be able to tell a story. Not all PMMs are copywriters, and it's fine. I think you need to understand that. I think you need to be like a bit of a jack of all trades. At least that's how I feel as a PMM. But you also need to understand that aspect of market context and understanding of what's happening is very crucial. You need to do your job as it's always organization based and not just your own department because you don't necessarily know where your department is. Sometimes it's in marketing, sometimes it's in product. I even saw PMMs being under the chief strategy officer. So I think business acumen is out there. I think really being curious and really being able to tell a great story is very solid. And the last point to me would be you need to be obsessed with the customer and with the data. If you just say, "Oh, I'm going to tell a good narrative. I'm going to tell a good story." Okay, good. Yeah. Stories are not bringing revenue, right?
Yeah.
Can help you get there, but you need to understand why, how are people reacting, what the data is telling us, and how can we align everything together in a good strategic fashion.
Yeah, totally. And when it comes to telling a great story as well, one thing that comes to mind is how product marketers are also responsible to align sales and marketing. So, what are some of your favorite ways of, or maybe examples that you have of being able to align sales, marketing, and products? So let's say that you are on a repositioning project and you want to keep everyone on the same page and make sure that the messaging that comes out is consistent. How would you go about that?
And it's giving me a bit of PTSD vibe a little bit because it's always, you always look at that as a mountain a little bit. But I would say it always starts with don't do it alone. The worst thing you can do as a PMM or someone who wants to work on a strategic project is do it alone, because then you're just asking to get jumped on. Hey guys, I worked for 4 weeks. This is a new position. This is new messaging. Like it won't work at all. I would say based on my background, PMM should be friend with BDRs and SDRs. If you're a sales led org, you should be friend with sales, at least from that layer, because it's hard to do jump from PMM to VP of sales. You never talk to them. And the goal is, I saw that a lot of ways you can bring them in terms of quota, in terms of response, in terms of meetings is with messaging. And what's happening is in a large organization, or even startups, sometimes there's no communication. The help you can bring them to just understand how they can craft key messages and make it relevant. All they need to do afterward is just craft copy themselves or tweak stuff up, but they have the foundation and they have your understanding as someone who is really understanding all of the different pieces. So if you get friend with BDRs and SDRs, it's giving you a good opportunity of, hey, I understand exactly what they are doing because they are telling me where. And then you can go to 2 a.m. You can go to a point where you'll be in sales meetings
Mm.
and you won't be seen as, oh, I'm a marketer. And a marketer are usually people that are just bridging the gap between marketing and sales, because they say they understand the market, but all they do is webinars with 12 registration or changing the colors on the homepage.
Yeah.
Which, as we know, it's not that at all, but it's some misconception that I heard from the sales team. So I would always start with that. If you are able to get friends in sales, automatically you get so much more voting power, because this is what brings the money, right? You can have the most the website in the world. If you don't have anyone buying your product, it's not worth it.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And especially for early stage startups, right? When getting the first customer is it's a bit hard. You also don't have a lot of a huge pool of customers to research for messaging. So I think that those relationships with sales are super important, just because they are the
Yeah.
first one that get like language and messaging. How do you make sure like you participated in meetings? What else did you do? Did you help them like collaborate on decks? What else did you do to sync there?
Yeah. So I think it's very easy to fall under the caveat of, oh, I'm going to help you guys. I'm going to redo your sales deck. I'm going to create like resources to help you sell. If there's no will, there's no way. If
Mm.
they don't have like emotion that it doesn't work, why should you be wasting your time on this? Because from the get go, they won't use it. So it's very similar to going to market as a startup. Where's the pain? Don't focus on the technology. You can spin the product 30 different ways. Focus on the problem, understand it to a really deeper level, and then you'll be able to help them. So I would say, again, the sales team, if you want to push a new positioning or a new messaging, always start with, again, you already have influence with what I talked earlier with like the VRs and SDRs.
Mm.
Let's say you're a friend with the top AU of the company, really strong gal that she understands everything. She's able to close everything up. She really mastered the product, but also the prospect in the market. You come up to her and you're like, hey, this is something new that we crafted. This is something we want to test right now. The reason being that the way we're talking about the product don't differentiate from the competition. which confuse prospect even more. So those deals that you know that the rest of the team struggle, it's good at that. And then there's also X, Y, and Z reason that we realize with the market research, with the new idea and the new launches that the competition did. So we would like to try this out. If this doesn't help you close more, we're going to be reworking on it. So the idea is this is it's going to help you to do an even better job. And we want to position them as if she's able to do it and get a lot of amazing results with it, the rest of the team will follow because it's a bit of fallen leader situation. So this is a bit how I would tackle it, but I think it should always be from the point of, I don't want to push more stuff. I want to fix an internal situation that can help you win. Because it's always that. If you're a product marketer and you position yourself as an ally to sell, it's a lot easier then to play different fiddle in, okay, I can help marketing do this. I can help product do this. I can just make sure everyone works together and there's no bridge or gaps internally, because it's like a game of speed, especially with startups. It's always how much can I do in that limited amount of time. And when you see the competition breaks you and go even further than you, it's making me like, there's something in me that just fired up and I'm like, okay, we need to put the pedal to the metal and fix it.
Makes sense. I also love how meta this is, because you're basically being persuading sales in a way. You're including a risk reversal, which is super interesting. And it's a very complex internal dynamic, but I think, as you mentioned, if you can handle it, you can be very productive.
Exactly. And it's just about being human as well. We're hard there to do jobs, but we're all there to have fun too. And you have some stuff about that on your website, that things should be playful. We should have fun. It's not just work. And if it's work, it should be fun. And I think this is what we're doing as well. I love working on messaging and positioning because it's like a video game with me, hence the name of my company, Press X to Market. But you have to have the right pieces that fits in the right thing within the right timing in a situation when you can be different. Like the amount of visibility and growth we got in the B2B podcast was very quick. And I feel like it's just because we were ourselves, we had fun. Okay, we're PMMs that feels dead inside. So our logo is going to be Austrian skeletons. And then we just repeated, use that with Dali art all across the different episodes. And a bunch of jokes came up out of it. We were like, okay, startups are usually there, and you probably relate to this, but there's always two situations when they talk about the competition. It's either we have no competition or we go after Salesforce. So we just made the joke of let's go after Salesforce. And as a small podcast with three guys, not even in the same country, and I don't know, it just became really fun. So as long as we're able to take that and understand that even if everyone has hard days, everyone is trying to do their best work, we should do it and having fun doing it. And when you start realizing that, it just gives a whole mindset to collaboration.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So we talk a lot about message market fit on this podcast because it's the title as well. So how do you define message market fit?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I love the name. Like this is, I was just looking at messaging podcast and then I saw something and I was like, that's it. Chris gets it. Message market fit to me, and I'm taking this definition from Winter. To me, it's unique value. What are you bringing to a specific target market that for them is different than what's out there? It can be a composition of multiple things, but I'm really seeing it as that. Then it's differentiation. How are you different from the competition? And again, differentiation is almost becoming a buzzword because everyone is talking about it, but it can have multiple aspects. I think it's just, you need to understand what the core of the market is and just go the opposite direction. I don't care. Be as bold as possible. If it's you, like just do you. And the last point is the POV. Again, this is what we did with the pod. We're not marketers. The CMO wrote in the comments on my LinkedIn post, I should coach you. You don't know marketing. You don't know product marketing. If this is how, if you think that PMM is in the marketing, you have a very wrong definition of marketing. I don't care. Okay, cool. Maybe you're right. Maybe my 7 years of experience are worthless. I don't care. But I still believe in that POV. And it's still something that we ask every single one of our guests because we want to understand where they're at. And yes, the data is telling us otherwise, that I think when we scanned our audits, it was 30% were agreeing with us, 70% were not, but we still have raving fans that keep coming because even if it doesn't matter if we're right or wrong, as long as we're making a difference and we're able to really bring a new narrative to how the product marketing world should be.
Yeah, because a lot of times it's not just about making a difference, but it's about making a difference for the right people who need that. So
Exactly.
if and that's like
Exactly.
the resonating factor. If you have that, everything clicks.
I feel like message market fit is such a good term. There's a lot of, and I know a bunch of them are appearing throughout the years, but founders really think about PMM,
Mm.
especially in their early stage shops. Oh, what is product marketing? And it's understandable, but when you take a look at today's podcast, he covered that big part of it, like some startup hyper successful, really, um, really bringing like amazing results and like they got funding after funding and stuff like that. But the issue is they don't even realize that they have product marketing.
Mm.
So it became a notion that you can try up to a point, but message market fit, when you see a target market resonate with your message, it's impossible to not see it.
Yeah.
So it's so clear in front of you. Like they get it, they get the aha moment, they get everything. So I feel like most early stage startups should just focus on that at first. Try to
Yeah.
make sure your message resonates to a target audience and then think about that repeating revenue first.
And so if someone asks, okay, you're saying for early stage message market fit is maybe a bit more important, but how would you answer to them if they asked, okay, but what if I promise something that's still not true in the product? How do you address that after once people sign up? Are you gonna
That's a
down
great
or what?
question. That's a really great question. And I had that chat with a couple of founders before. The last thing I want my craft to be is to promise stuff that isn't true. I feel like a lot of people in marketing like got a bad rap because of that. Hey, you can get this and making like untrue claims.
Mhm.
But I think there's always a question of you have to understand your positioning because your positioning, like most messaging problem, I feel like are a positioning problem a bit inside. If I'm talking about, let's say, for example, I want to start a CRM and I want to start a CRM just for LinkedIn, just for social selling. I need to understand what's out there. And then I need to understand if those are qualifiers. When I take a look at a CRM, what do I want? I want a pipeline. I want potentially to be able to send email. I want to wait for my lead to be able to lead and stuff like that. What are differentiators? Oh, if I use a CRM, it's for social selling. What I can do is I can engage directly a custom fee with people on LinkedIn. So I don't even need sales anymore. I can just do it
Mm.
there. Then that will feed you elements that are within your product based on your position.
Yeah.
If you're saying I'm the best CRM out there and your product is shitty or not up to that point, it just it's just untruthful claims a little bit. So I think there's always a question of, is your product providing more value into the way you're doing stuff? And then it's always a question of, do you have the capability internally to do a really great job in a specific segment or sub market? Or do you need to work more on the product to get there? And then you need to adapt your claims. I
Yeah.
don't think all messaging should be focused just on acquisition. I think in that case, it's just be fair. It doesn't need to be like the podcast, for example. We're not Exit Fives. We're not like Joe Rogan or whatever. But the way we're doing it is we're just us. You just feel like it's three guys chatting and having fun and talking about stuff to make better product marketing out there. And that's it. It's not an untruthful claim. We're not saying that we're the best PMM, like PMM podcast.
Yeah.
We're not saying that we're the best B2B podcast. So try to adapt it and try to just be honest with your audience and your target market. Everyone is like saying we're the leading, we're the number one and stuff like that. And it's very easy to see that it's not true. So
Mm.
either work on your product if you see that the market is hyper competitive. And if not, try to do a pivot when you tackle a smaller part of it. The example I always use is everyone knows Photoshop, but as a marketer, I don't have time to always work on different stuff. I can just use Canva and create good enough visuals that will do the job.
And when it comes to differentiation, one thing that I see as well that a lot of companies, and up until the point where we dig into their messaging strategy, positioning, they struggle to see how they're different. And from my experience, it's because they think that every single thing that they do, let's say you narrow it down to 3, 4 differentiated value themes, then they think that each of those 4 need to be like exclusive, something that they only they do. And then I tell them, no, it's actually like the combination of these 3 that makes you unique, because you're the only one that basically does all of them in this specific way. Why do you think companies struggle so much with understanding their differentiators?
I think it just circling back to like stuff that people have heard over and over. Oh, you need to be unique. You need to have this. You need to have that. And even me, when I started my consultation, it's, yeah, but Gab, how are you different? I'm like, what do you mean? It's always that aspect of differentiation is the destination. It's like the journey, but it's not always a goal. And what I think that means that basically what you need is to understand that if you try to stack up features together, it being like, oh, we're all-in-one solution that can do a one-stop shop, we can do all of this. People are really looking for more. You don't want a Walmart. You want a very specific shop that can do something better than the rest, because they are so much focused on that. And then, yes, you will be able to be like Monday or ClickUp, but to get there, you need to do something incredibly well for one type of customers. So I think, differentiation, as I said, almost becomes like a buzzword, but you need to understand that your differentiation can be just a piece of the whole solution. Can that for Photoshop, or it can be your POV, and then making sure you focus on a very strong feature that people would love compared to something else. You don't always need to stack more, because then it just becomes a lot more difficult to buy a solution. And I feel like we can talk about that for hours. The buying process in B2B is all, I won't swear, but it's not good.
Yeah. A lot of times differentiation is also just your approach, how you approach or deliver on the product. That can be enough sometimes.
Definitely.
All right. So when it comes to your podcast as well, I'm curious, how do you think you've got to your message market fit for the podcast? Was it just by personal experience, or did you actually do some research? I'm just curious from the podcasting standpoint.
Yeah. So that's a good question. I think we're close to message market fit. I don't think we're there yet. I think we're always trying to iterate. And it's one of the reasons why we did it within seasons, because that way we're always able to circle back, sit down the three of us and, okay, how can we make things better, but how can we really adapt to what's happening right now in the product marketing market? I would say that what I feel was good for us is we really started with that point of view. PMMs on our marketers. The three of us made posts, and then we saw, okay, people disagree, but some people agree. And we saw as well that Product Marketing Alliance was they were asking their audience for some hot takes. And some of them were saying PMMs are not actually marketers. They are strategy experts, alignment experts, and stuff like that. So it was already, I think, something that people were taking inside of their mind a little bit. And then it's about like just chatting with a lot of different experts on what their take is, and sparking conversation too. Some people, they told us, yes, I believe that product marketers are not marketers. And we're like, whoa, I was not expecting that answer at all. While others said, again, entirely different things. Some of them said it depends. So I think it's the fact that it's a well-known role that people don't understand. It's a trendy role, but it's also a role that needs a lot more support into what does great look like. And I feel like this is a little bit of our X. This is a little bit what we're working towards. We want for following seasons to show what great product marketing looks like. And we also have a newsletter that we call Dying for Influence, which is how can you make that a reality? How can you showcase internally in a startup, in an enterprise, whatever you work as a PMM? This is the best work I do, and this is why I'm winning in that direction. Because influence is everything. As I said, if you try to work with a sales team, but they still think that you are a marketer, it will be difficult to put things in motion.
Yeah. You have to adapt like a chameleon.
Exactly. That's a good analogy.
All right, since we were talking about podcasting, what do you see working and not working in podcasting today, specifically like marketing podcasts, like Lenny's podcast, for example, or other ones?
Working and not working. I would say,
Or what do you like from a product marketer's perspective, or like an operator's perspective?
I think something that we need to be aware is always getting customer feedback. So on our end, and we're often asking for feedback. It's not always easy, but the more you are able to have feedback to your audience, the better. So I think this is very drastic. If you're unable to have conversation with them, maybe because of the audience size, or maybe because it's difficult to reach them out,
Mm,
this will beat you a lot. So every time where people are reaching out and telling us, "Hey, great podcast, we love it," I always come up with, "Is there a subject that we haven't spoke about that you would love for us to cover?" And this is
yeah.
feeding us tons of ideas. And it's always also, I think of, it's easy to get guesses and to interview them. But I think again, it's just circling back, how do you differentiate? So what we did is we're asking that specific question, but then we're also going in tangents from one side or the other, and really let the guesses feel comfortable. So sometimes it's something, and it's very fun. It's called a messaging torture round.
Mm,
So basically, we're taking all the buzzwords in B2B and we're asking them which one is the best. So it's an idea from my co-host Eric, and basically, it's, would you rather say streamline or seamless? And often we're talking to messaging experts, so they're like, "What the hell?" And then you have to pick the less
yeah.
worse one over there, and that immediately put them at ease because they
Mm,
laugh, they have fun, and then we can go to much more deeper conversations. We had the Yulin Pay on the podcast, and she was to a point when she spoke about minority in the workplace and the way it's perceived, and it was a very insightful conversation, especially from my point of view of a white male. I was, okay, this is something I never thought about it, but I didn't really understood how does that feel when there's a conversation that is on a specific point and not everyone is included inside of it,
mm,
because it's just something that they don't necessarily care about or they don't relate to.
yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that aspect of really making podcasts back to being meaningful conversation, I think is something that I would love to see more podcasts do a little bit. But other than that, it's just circling back to, you need to find a bit of your unique voice,
Yeah.
and there's no real risk. But the last thing I think that I feel like we're doing great, and I'm seeing a lot of people are doing is, 45 minutes, an hour conversation, you get so much content, but it's not everyone that has either the capability of just listening to all of it. And some people just want the goodies, but that 45-minute conversation is like golden to you. As a marketer, you should take that, craft social clips, craft newsletter, craft lead magnet, craft content. The goal is recycling here.
Mm,
People are coming on, they are taking the time of their day to speak to you. They have knowledge to share. Sometimes they're saying stuff, and always try to note it or just try to remember it
highlight.
when we edit or whatever. But it's always like moments when I'm just sitting back and I'm like, okay, covered something very interesting, very solid. Then it's going to be so good. Then it's going to, people will find that valuable. You
Mm,
can just use that to bring and create a compounding effect with what your whole episode is 100% worth.
yeah. Nice. I'm interested on your take because we mentioned seamless and streamlined, so something popped into my head. How would you deal with the situation where, for example, like a bigger company already has like voice and tone guidelines where these jargony words are super ingrained and they push them on you? What would you tell them if you thought that, okay, that like this is the time that we need to get out of this shit, basically?
Yeah. Usually I like to ask, what does that mean? And then I try to usually come up with a simpler version of it. Streamline, like, okay, but what do you mean? Oh, everything comes up together. In some cases, just doing that is a lot more clear. You can just state them. Docs, I think Notion has something like that, like docs, files, and projects, everything coming together.
Mm,
sound better because it's different from what the rest. So that's my first thing. The other one is just, are you trying to sound clever
Mm.
or to sound clear?
Yeah.
And I think just saying you need to be clear is a bit of a junk food advice
Mm.
because there's a different layer of clarity. And shout out to my good friend Zach Nestler. He's talking about messaging clarity a lot, and he's writing beautiful stuff. But I think it's always about that. It's if you're trying to be clever, cleverness needs to be into a way where it's relevant to your target audience. Don't try necessarily to sound cool. You can be cool, but in a situation when people need to understand very quickly what you do in a crisp and clear manner,
Mm.
trying to sound like the new kid on the block can do more hurt than
Yeah.
great.
Sometimes I think they hide behind these fancy words because they make copy shorter as well. When in reality, it doesn't mean that if the copy is short, it's going to work better. It's probably the opposite. If it speaks better with the right words, the right audience, it's probably going to convert higher. Right?
Exactly. And there's also the caveat of if you're selling to CISOs, right? Are you going to use hyper dumbed down copy? No. You still need them to make them understand what your solution do. Like I still need to talk about SOAR. I still need to talk about security. I still need to go into in depth of what that solution does. But I'm just curious if you said something about the code. Like, from your point of view,
Mm.
with working with lots of companies, what's the worst buzzword in B2B that you take it? What's the worst buzzword in
The
B2B from you take?
The one, it's a combo, but powered by. Yeah,
Powered by bonus point if it's AI powered.
exactly. Now it's trendy. Or you also have empower. It's another one, which is similar on the same lines, but yeah, power
Oh
goes
yeah,
very
empowered
well.
is bad. That's a good one. Yeah.
All right, switching gears a bit, you mentioned in passing something about segmentation, and I know that you wrote something along the lines that 95% of startups die because of segmentation mistakes. Why do you think segmentation is so important for startups, and yeah, why did they struggle with it?
Yeah. So I think segmentation, and again, like I'm not blaming startups because I wasn't a startup. I was a solo marketer and I failed at it greatly. Like
Mm.
I was like, okay, so we're going to make the product with 18 use cases. So everyone can like, we're going to be the desktop killer a little bit. I was working in cloud desktop at the time. So I failed a lot and I understand why. It's always that you want to do your best work, but you also want to, you don't want to say no to opportunities
Mm.
because startup it's the random budget. You're trying to make everything work. You want to get those opportunities in the door. So if on one side, there's an accounting firm that wants to work with you, and then on the other, there's like a software product that wants to work with you, you'll take those opportunities. The issue is you have limited resources and they are usually they are undertaking the level of execution and strategy requires to be successful when you go to market. So the issue with that is they are trying to sell to everyone. Like I heard a founder tell me a couple of months ago that he wanted his product to be used by enterprise and to be used by startup because
Mm.
it could be for everyone. Yeah. I said, so you want to sell to everyone. This is a red flag and I can't explain why. So you have limited resources and you need to cross the chasm. This is a classic. Everyone going in business should read that book because it's just telling you that if you find a beachhead segment, you're able to really scale that way and grow that way. So I think if you don't have the right target market because you badly segmented your market, how can you make your positioning work? How can you make your messaging work? How can you develop your product in the right way? How can you price and package it correctly?
Mm.
How can you fuel your marketing and sales to do their best work with the data you have? How can you improve the customer experience? Everything else is compounded. It's like a house of cards a little bit. I think it's come up with like bad definition, but the way I'm seeing it is you need to understand that there is market sub-market, which is, to me, it's the synonym of segment, target segment, sub-segment, niche, and then you have your ICP, which to me, like it's how do I qualify ready to buy account in that niche I'm trying to start?
Uh,
So once you have that understanding, it makes things simpler because then you can understand, okay, do I have the right capabilities to narrow things down and to go there? And one of my past client, what we did was it was a dark web monitoring product for consumer fraud. So compromised check, compromised credentials and stuff like that. And when we started working together, it was like, okay, let's just target the financial industry. And I was like, bro, this is billions. Like it's $1 billion industry, not trillions. So I'm like, how do you want to approach it? You're three guys. Like
yeah.
the gap is immense. Like it's crazy. And we're up to a point where based on research, based on customer interviews, researching all around the market with for primary and secondary data, we realized let's just take fintech and let's just take the most growing niche of fintech. In that case, it was neobank and digital only bank. So we decided to target basically the positioning was we're a frauded dark web monitoring tool for early stage neobank and digital only bank in North America.
Mm.
Directly, it's much more plausible to go after that target market because it's smaller. And if you dominate a small sub part of that market, it's already a way how you can get it. And then you can tweak the product to go after bigger ranks.
Yeah.
Maybe a different segment, maybe other type of fintech like lending or stuff like that. So I think it's always that idea of don't try to climb Mount Everest in the first take when you never did any training and any hiking, you have shitty cardio and everything. Do Mount Washington in the car. Do it and then figure out other stuff to hide. It's always a question of you need to be ready to go there. And I don't care if it's fine to look in a long-term vision, but you need at first to walk the talk and it start with usually a smarter scope.
Yeah, it's easier to switch strategy or expand whenever you have the process already set up. And yeah, before we wrap up, I actually wanted to dive a bit into your process. I know that you do this go-to-market audit. Can you tell me how it works? Because it's the first time that I hear an audit phrase that's go-to-market audits. I've always heard like conversion audits or messaging audits. So how does it work for you?
Yeah, go-to-market audit, it's something that is also part of an upcoming resource that will be ready probably at the time of this recording. But the go-to-market audit to me is I want to make sure at first that they are targeting correctly and what their ICP is. Most startup I talk to have a bad definition of their ICP. They're all in on 9 personas, or they don't necessarily understand the buying triggers when they are trying to form their firmographic aspect of company size and stuff like that. So usually I always start with the elements that I'm helping them when they have their go-to-market foundation. So I ask question about what's your value prop. So it's not a full-on go-to-market audit because there's a lot of go-to-market advisors that can do a much better job than me. But it's usually what's the foundation of your go-to-market and is it good right now for you to get traction? So
Mm.
ICP, messaging, traction channels, and objectives. This is mainly the 4 part I'm looking at. And then what I do is, okay, well, I saw some gaps here, some stuff here. And it's also a way for me to understand a bit more in the situation and understand if I can help. The last thing I want as a consultant is to take on clients that I cannot hit home runs with because that home run is my social proof and my social proof is one of the key ingredients of my messaging.
Yeah, yeah.
So I want to make sure I can do a good job. And if I cannot, I have an extensive network. I can refer them to other people. So I would say that's basically it. But a big part of your go-to-market foundation is your target audience. So I have on my LinkedIn profile right now, air quotes, a micro course, a very simple course with a workbook on how to find your best target market in under an hour. It's not for everyone though. I'm targeting mainly early stage startups. And usually there's a few conditions to make it work. You need to have at least 10 paying customers because this indicate initial market traction. You also need to have a collection of existing data based on your customer primary and secondary data, either report, customer interview, goal call, recording, stuff like that. And the last thing is you need to be a bit uncertain of your target market. You have a few customers in different areas. You have some social proof, but you're unsure which is the best one to target. And the idea behind that resource is I wasn't calling people were asking me, Gab, who should I be targeting? And I'm like, if I could predict the future, I would not be working. I would be either out in Bali somewhere sipping on rum and coast. But this resource is for them to, in under an hour, you're able to really understand what are the different market, what's the difference between a market, a segment, and a niche. Do you have the internal capability to go after a market? And how do you qualify a market of being attractive? And then this will just fuel you getting a lot better results. Like when you narrow down your targeting, you get a lot better outcomes in terms of replies, meeting both revenue, all of that stuff that we're looking for because you're just prioritizing what matters.
And was that born from like you noticing that a lot of the companies that you work with didn't have any like knowledge or experience working on that targeting?
I would say they usually have it, but they fall under the situation of this is the technology and this is like potential markets that we can go after. So when I was at Business Lab, the business development agency, it was like, okay, so I was always digging, deep, trying to understand the market, talking to them, and it was like, okay, but who do you want to target? And then I was receiving like 8 targets, and I was like, you guys are 8 people. It's going to be difficult to work on that. So that way we're doing a process elimination, and I came up with a process that I used in 2019 when I was product marketing consultant in a fintech startup. And I just adapted a little bit for that scope of work. And this is what the resource is all about. It's how can I take a decision chart and really score my market fit score internally, but also the market attractiveness score of who I want to go after. So you pick 3 target market, you rank them down, and then you'll find which one can bring you the best results compared to which one would be a bet by itself, or you should just put an X on it and don't pursue.
Yeah. All right. My last question is, where do you go to learn? What's your favorite resource, place, book?
I am a big fan of Exit 5. I'm part of the community of Exit 5 with Gerhard. We're actually going on a drive with the 3 guys from the Wearing Marketers in September. Very excited. Other than that, LinkedIn to me is my go-to. I always find great stuff on LinkedIn. I listen to a bunch of podcasts as well on Spotify. And what else? I would say that's it. I'm someone who really rely a lot on what people are posting on LinkedIn. Like it's my beige flag or my red flag, and I'm there all day.
Yeah, you have to be careful not to fall in the infinite doom scrolling.
Oh yeah, I know. I put myself some guardrails a little bit. And like if I find myself up doom scrolling, it's the perfect opportunity to engage with my network. So I'm like,
yeah, for
if I
sure.
doom scroll, I don't know, if something happened and I doom scroll for 15 minutes nonstop, I need to engage with at least 5 people.
Which, I mean, there are worse things like doom scrolling on TikTok, for example. At least you're on LinkedIn, it's a bit more productive, let's say.
Yeah, but it's always that. Try to make things work. Always ask yourself, if I find myself doom scrolling,
Yeah,
what could I be doing instead?
yeah. All right, Gab, thank you so much. So where can people find you? On LinkedIn, of course. Then you have the podcast website, which is notmarketers.com. Anything else? Anywhere else?
That's about it. Nonmarketers.com to check out Point Marketers and Gab Bujold on LinkedIn. I have a little skull next to my last name, so it should be easily findable. And my big face with a big blue background, so you should be able to find me. But thank you very much, Chris. It was a really cool experience being on the other end of it. I appreciate the time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you so much for listening to the pod. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, the best thing you could do to support the show and help me as a small business owner would be to leave a review. Head over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and let me know what you think. If you don't want to miss future episodes, subscribe, and if you have any feedback, questions, or suggestions for future episodes, just hit me up on LinkedIn at Christopher Silvestri or Twitter at SilvestriChris. Speak to you next time.